Welcome back gamers to another JGM Gaming video. In today's video I want to share with you a complete guide on how to deal with the first boss in Ulduar, Flame Leviathan, including siege vehicles and their uses, tactics during the boss fight, and the achievements that are available here as well. So at the start of the raid you have two options: either speak with good old Bran Bronzebeard to start the encounter on normal difficulty, or speak with the Lawkeeper of Norgannon to start the encounter on hard mode. Once the encounter has been started, you'll then need to hop into a siege vehicle and deal with the trash before the boss, and destroy the huge storm beacons along the way. This is known as the Gauntlet. If you're doing this on normal mode, be sure to destroy the 4 towers to remove certain powers from the boss. At any time, you can see which powers the boss has by looking at the gemstones in his fight area. Those that are lit are activated, with green representing Freya, blue Hoder, yellow Thorium, and red Murmuron. So moving on to the siege vehicles and their roles. They are the salvaged siege engine. The salvaged siege engine consists of 2 roles, the driver and the gunner. The driver functions as the tank and a close range fighter, with the key role of interrupting the boss, which we'll get into later. The gunner is a long range fighter, of course, shooting pyrite crates out of the sky and blasting enemies with their cannonball. Salvage siege engines can also carry up to 2 bonus passengers as well, although they won't be able to use the gun. Next is the salvage demolisher. The salvage demolisher consists of 2 roles, the driver and the gunner. The driver functions as a long-range damage dealer, hurling pyrite, boulders, and even their partner at the opponent. The gunner plays a support role, shooting pyrite crates out of the sky again and loading them into the catapult. And finally we have the salvage chopper, the smallest of the 3 siege engines. This is a skirmish fighter, deploying hit and run tactics with a frontal cone attack and slowing pools of tar. In this battle, vehicles are the only means of combat. As such, the composition of the team does not matter as long as there are 25 players in the raid in 25-man mode. The strength of a vehicle is determined by the average item level of the driver and passengers in most slots. The higher the item level, the better the vehicle. Therefore, it's recommended to have players with the highest item levels driving demolishers, followed by siege engines, with passengers in siege engines. Players with the lower item levels should be in choppers, where the scaling will have the least impact. So, the Gauntlet. In the Gauntlet, players will fight through waves of Iron Dwarves, Iron Giants, Fricrolls, and various mechanical creatures as well. The most notable enemy is the Ulduar Colossus, which casts Ground Slam, and this should be interrupted by the players who are driving salvaged siege engines using their Electroshock ability. During this initial Gauntlet, liquid pyrite tanks will float in the sky. These should be shot down by vehicle gunners and collected. It's recommended to gather as much pyrite as possible before reaching the boss. There are also the 4 previously mentioned towers in the Gauntlet. Each tower destroyed makes the fight easier, but also reduces the rewards. Onto the boss fight now. So after defeating the final group of enemies, the boss will enter its arena and the fight can begin. Near the entrance to the boss arena there are 2 repair platforms that can be used to heal your vehicle and replenish pyrite if needed. To start the boss fight, simply drive into the boss. Flame Leviathan is a very easy and straightforward fight, and instead of a threat table, the boss will fixate on a specific player's demolisher or siege engine for 30 seconds. During this time, the boss will slowly chase the player, and they will kill the player if they're not careful. It's really slow though, so it's not too hard to get away from that. To survive being fixated, players will need to kite the boss around the arena using a combination of speed boosts and the slowing effect from the tar. This will allow them to avoid being caught by the boss. Salvage demolishers are the primary source of damage during this fight and should aim to maintain 10 stacks of pyrite barrel on the boss at all times. This requires the passenger to consistently collect pyrite scattered around the arena. Salvage siege engines are necessary to interrupt flame vents using electroshock. This requires at least 38 steam pressure, so the drivers will need to monitor their resources to ensure they have enough steam pressure when Flame Vents is cast. Salvage demolishers can launch their passengers at the boss. Players on top of the boss can destroy the Leviathan defense turrets, which has the effect of stunning the boss for 20 seconds and causes it to take 50% increased damage. This also removes all stacks of gathering speed, which is necessary for kiting the boss. Players launched at the boss should be ranged DPS, as they can reach all 4 turrets, while melee DPS can only reach 1. After the boss has been overloaded, players will need to jump off and be ferried back to their salvage demolisher by a chopper. Onto the hard mode now. In hard mode, the boss has additional abilities to be aware of, and each of the 4 towers that we previously mentioned provides a unique buff to the boss and increases its health by 40%. Starting off with the Tower of Life, this gives the boss Freya's Ward, dealing constant nature damage to all enemies around Flame Leviathan and summoning Ward of Life and writhing lashes from green beams in each corner of the boss arena. The boss will also be buffed with Tower of Life, decreasing the fire damage it takes by 10%. This constant bonus damage means the group will have less room for mistakes during the fight. The next tower is the Tower of Flames. This causes meteors to fall from the sky, slowly following a set route. These can easily be avoided, but will decimate anybody that gets hit by them. Flame Leviathan will also deal 50% increased fire damage with this tower up. The next tower is the Tower of Frost, and this causes pale beams of light to appear which follow players. The beams will stop moving on top of vehicles, calling down an icy comet on them and freezing them, dealing constant damage. Frozen vehicles will need to be hit with fire damage to break the ice and free them. The fourth and final tower is the Tower of Storms. This causes pillars of light to briefly appear and after a small delay deal heavy damage to everyone caught in the beam. This also causes Flame Leviathan to deal 25% increased physical damage. Finally, we have the achievements which are available here. Starting off with, of course, the Siege of Ulduar. This is the first boss that you will need to get this achievement to defeat the bosses of the siege area in Ulduar. The next achievement is Dwarfageddon. To obtain this achievement, you'll have to destroy 100 Steelforged defenders in 10 seconds during the pre-boss Gauntlet. The next achievement is Unbroken. This requires you to defeat Flame Leviathan on your first attempt without anyone repairing their vehicle. 3-car garage, defeat Flame Leviathan once in each type of vehicle, so this one will require 3 lockouts at a minimum to complete. The next is take out those turrets, destroy one of Flame Leviathan's defense turrets during the encounter. The next achievement is shutout, defeat Flame Leviathan without causing a systems shutdown. And these last 4 achievements can all be done in one run with all 4 towers active, and they are Obituary, defeat Flame Leviathan with all 4 towers active. Nuked from orbit, defeat Flame Leviathan with 3 towers active. Orbital Devastation, defeat him with 2 towers active. And Orbital Bombardment, defeat him with 1 tower active. And that's the complete guide on how to beat the first boss in Ulduar, Flame Leviathan. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please do consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.